Special General Council meeting is now called to order at 10:31 a.m. Would Everett Bandy please step forward and lead us in the invocation?
Intate Wakanda Ijinke, Humpade O-Guah-Pah Kishto, Hota Shkache Kombre Wakanda. I want you to bless our Quapaw General Council meeting that we're having today. We're going to be discussing changes to our governing resolution. This governing resolution's been with us for many years here, Father God, and it helps us to organize our government, and we're doing our best to follow it and try to see some prosperous, good changes for our people, and we're discussing these edits. So I just ask you to bless our discussions today, everyone that made their way over here, and bless all of our people from the oldest to the youngest here, Father God. And anyone that may be sick here today, I ask you to bless them. In mourning here, Father God, you could bless them as well. Just be with our people today. I pray all this to you in the name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you, Everett. Secretary Treasurer Valier, would you please declare quorum and call for orders of the day?
Madam Chair, I declare a quorum and a call for the orders of the day.
Thank you. Hello and welcome. It's wonderful to see so many Quapaws here today, and thank you for coming in spite of the bitter cold temperatures. It is through active tribal member participation we continue to make forward progress. There are 4 specific items we are here to address today and tomorrow, if need be. First, finalize the language to amend governing resolution sections 3 and 4 so the governing resolution and election ordinance are consistent. Second, finalize the language to amend the 2004 election ordinance for 4 specific changes. Those changes include changing the election ordinance to clarify the scope to include the Quapaw Nation Business Committee and petitions, changing the phrase calendar days to business days for consistency, changing the number of registered voter signatures required to recall an elected official from 250 to 30% in section 16.2 to recognize the growth of enrollment. Any petition must include date of signature, printed name, and roll number. Any petition started must be turned in within 45 days from first signature to the enrollment and election committees for verification. Third, propose a change in business committee terms from 2 years to 4 years for elections occurring after and if the change is approved. This proposed change will require updates to both the governing resolution as well as the election ordinance. Last, finalize the language in the Tribal Employment Rights Act. All proposed changes were included in the December 2024 Quapaw Post edition, the tribal website, and social media. This complies with the governing resolution requirement where the information must be available at least 30 days prior to the Special General Council meeting. Our goal in the Special General Council meeting is to finalize the language changes. We will not be enacting anything today or tomorrow. What we will do is finalize the language of any proposed changes and then refer those finalized changes to a referendum balloted vote per section 14 of the governing resolution and administered by the election committee so all qualified voters have an opportunity to vote on the changes. No other matters can be addressed. We hope everyone enjoyed, those who were here for breakfast as well as for lunch. Elders, you are encouraged to sit toward the front in the red chairs for your comfort and ease of participation. Thank you to all those working to make this a good Special General Council meeting. That includes the Quapaw Nation employees and volunteers, Downstream Learning Center, O-gah-pah Communications and Events, the Department of Public Safety, the Election Committee, and the Downstream Casino and Resort team. Due to the weather, we're very appreciative for the valet service for our elders. Now, their hours of operation for this morning were 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., and then later today from 3:30 to 6. If any tribal elder wishes their car retrieved before 3:30 this afternoon, please call the valet desk directly. And that telephone number is area code 918-919-2197, and the DCR team will be happy to assist. Again, that telephone number is 918-919-2197. 2197. For the Downstream employees who are tribal members, please see Laura Rollins here to the side to sign in for payroll. Laura, would you please wave your hand, stand up? All right, so that's where the sign-in sheet is for today, for the DCR employees. For those who go to the patio, please keep the doors closed so the pavilion temperature remains comfortable. I think we're already a little chilly. Hopefully it'll get a little bit warmer. There is a desk in the back next to the registration tables where citizens can apply to become registered voters. Carrie Sisson is at that table. She's way back there. Carrie, raise your hand. When you registered earlier today, you received a voting device, a packet, and a sticker. Quapaw citizens, please wear the sticker. Remember, the sticker equal clicker. Only those wearing the O-gah-pah flag sticker should have a voting device in their possession. Otherwise, you may be called out. Caretakers and non-tribal member essential personnel are also have permission to be in the room. In the packet, you have a couple of things. Today's agenda, the Special General Counsel FAQ, the December 2024 Quapaw Post that includes all proposed language changes that we will review today. You also have a lunch ticket, which most of us already used. The elders got a red ticket for their table. Other tribal members have blue and yellow for all others. A blue numbered raffle ticket, you've got that in your packet as well, so please keep it. We'll have some raffles of great items throughout the day. There are some other goodies like a pen, a koozie, and red cards for the elders when they wish to be recognized. We hope these items are helpful. Later today, tribal members are eligible to receive $50 in cash when you turn in your clicker. The same amount is available tomorrow for those who register and attend tomorrow. In the event we complete all 4 Special General Council meetings today, everyone who stays for the full day is eligible to receive $100 when you turn in your clicker upon final adjournment. If we need to roll in tomorrow, please bring your packets back with you. Robert's Rules of Order books are available at registration, and we hope you take a copy if you don't already have one. O-gah-pah Communications is live streaming the meeting. Live streaming from personal devices is strictly prohibited. Video will be uploaded to YouTube after the meeting is concluded and editing is complete. That usually takes a couple of days. For those who may congregate in the back of the room, please keep the noise level down out of respect for those who wish to hear the entire discussion. I would like to reintroduce Eric Giles. Please stand. He's over here from the Quapaw General Legal Counsel of Drummond and Woodson. You may remember Eric from July 4th General Council meeting and September 7th and 8th special GC meetings. He will be serving in the role as designated parliamentarian. Additional colleagues from Drummond and Woodson are here today, Ms. Esther Labrado and Mr. Michael High. Thank you both for being here today. Our goal here today is to conduct an efficient, productive, respectful, and constructive meeting. We have 2 handheld microphones that will be brought to the elders up front who wish to make motions or engage in the discussion phase of the motions. If you wish to get your attention to have a microphone brought to you, please hold up the red card that was included in the packets. This one. All other tribal members need to line up and use the podium microphone up here. Again, unless you're an elder, please line up and use the podium microphone. You must be recognized to speak. When motions are made, the full text will be displayed on the big screen to your left, over here. Thank you, Austin Headley, for volunteering to cover this for meetings 1, 2, 3, and 4. Voting options will be displayed on the right screen and supported by the Election Committee and Mikhail Whitegrove. Thank you all as well. We hope you find this helpful to see the motions full text. Let us proceed with Special General Council meeting number 1. It looks like we've already got a clicker, 3675. Did anybody find an extra clicker? Please return it back up here. 3675. Nope, that's not one of the raffles. Don't worry. We'll get to those. But we need the voting device. Hope it finds its way to its owner. All right, so Special General Council meeting number 1, the purpose of which is to finalize language to amend governing resolution sections 3 and 4 so that the governing resolution and the election ordinance are consistent. Before we get started here, it is important to understand, excuse me. Oh, Karen Hildreth found the missing clicker. Yay! Thank you, Karen. So what we're doing here today is a direct follow-up that we are obligated to perform coming out of the September 7th and 8th, 2024 Special General Council meetings. Since that time, the Business Committee met with the Election Committee. We then met with the Constitution Committee. Then we met jointly with both the Election Committee and Constitution Committee to establish a unified approach. This Special General Council meeting number 1 is the outcome of that unified approach. Please direct your attention to the December 2024 edition of the Quapaw Post from your packet. If you can go about 1/3 of the way through the Quapaw Post to immediately after the Special General Council meeting announcement, that would be helpful. The next few pages are where we need to exclusively focus on sections 3 and 4 of the governing resolution. The top of the page reads Resolution delegating authority to the Quapaw Tribal Business Committee to speak and act on behalf of the Quapaw Tribe of Indians. Give you guys a couple minutes to find the right place. So that page has a whole bunch of blue and red, okay? So I'm going to review all of those changes in both the governing resolution as well as the election ordinance to bring them in conformity. So please bear with me for a couple of minutes while I go through that. The first proposed change is to strike Section 3, Paragraph A, Subsection 3 that currently reads, "The date and place shall be designated by the Quapaw Tribal Business Committee, and 30 days prior to the election, public notice shall be given." The reason that language should be stricken is because the election committee was delegated that authority when the election ordinance was approved 21 years ago. The second proposed change is to strike Section 3, Paragraph B is in Baker, that currently reads, "Those persons seeking election to the Quapaw Tribal Business Committee shall file written notice for the office for which they are seeking to be elected 30 days in advance, prior to the elections for that office by May 1. Such notice shall be filed at the Quapaw Tribal office. Nominations shall not be taken from the floor. Exception: in the event no individual files for office or an individual or individuals who file for position of office have no opposition, then nominations from the floor will be allowed. Individuals seeking office must be present. They must notify the chairman of the business committee in writing prior to the election that they will accept the nomination." The reason that language should be stricken is because the election ordinance we have been following for 21 years explains the process for declaring candidacy, eligibility, timeframes, and what we do when someone runs unopposed. The third proposed change is to strike Section 3, Paragraph D as in David, that currently reads, "In the event no individual files for office or an individual or individuals who file for a position of office have no opposition, the nominations from the floor will be allowed. Individuals seeking office must be present for the election except in the event of an emergency. If a candidate cannot be present, they must notify the chairman of the business committee in writing prior to the election they will accept the nomination." The reason that language should be stricken is because the election ordinance tells us what to do in that case, and we have been following that. The fourth proposed change is to add Section 3, Paragraph C as in cat, with the following. "Members of the Quapaw Nation Business Committee shall be elected according to the election and voting ordinance of 2004 as may be amended from time to time." This addition to the governing resolution directs us to research and seek help from the election and voting ordinance of 2004 as amended for business committee elections. The fifth proposed change is to add Section 3, Paragraph D as in David, with the following. "Amendments to the election and voting ordinance of 2004 shall be made according to Section 14 of this resolution delegating authority to the Quapaw Nation Business Committee to speak and act on behalf of the Quapaw Nation." This addition gives us specific guidance on how to amend the election and voting ordinance of 2004. Our sixth proposed change to the governing resolution to achieve consistency between the governing resolution and election ordinance is to strike the opening paragraph or preamble of Section 4 that currently reads, "Vacancies in any elective office shall be filled at any regular or special meeting of the Quapaw Indian Council." Striking this opening sentence or preamble of Section 4 contradicts the guidance provided in the election ordinance. Let's now proceed to a few additional proposed changes also needed to the election ordinances to bring them into conformity. All right, in your book, if you page forward a couple pages, you'll get to the entire election ordinance. The first change to the election ordinance is to correct the numbering on what should be subsection 2.2 that currently reads as a duplicate of 2.1. So that numbering has been out of whack for all these years, and we're trying to get that corrected. And to add the phrase "or other location designated by the election committee," which is what we currently do. The proposed updated language would read 2.2. Polling place means the Quapaw Tribal Complex or other location designated by the election committee in Quapaw, Oklahoma. We have had to do that on a few occasions where there was another reservation at the community building and have had to move the election to other locations in the tribal complex area in order to conduct the election. The second election ordinance proposed change is to add the word means, M-E-A-N-S, that was missing from section 2.23. It would read 2.23, registered voter, means a person of Quapaw blood who is duly registered to vote under the procedures set forth in this election ordinance. The third election ordinance proposed change is to strike the last sentence of section 4.4 because the governing resolution now tells us what to do in the event there is a grievance committee vacancy. That section reads, 4.4, any election shall relate only to the elected offices or to a petition. The last sentence should be stricken. Elections for the members of the grievance committee, unless a vacancy is being filled, shall take place at the General Council meeting of the Quapaw Nation and shall be had by nominations and votes from the floor. The fourth election ordinance proposed change is to strike section 15.2 because the governing resolution now tells us what to do in the event there is a grievance committee vacancy. That section currently reads 15.2. If a vacancy occurs for any reason on the grievance committee, the chairman, subject to the concurrence of the business committee, shall appoint a replacement grievance committee member to serve the remainder of the unexpired term. That summarizes the 6 governing resolution changes and 4 election ordinance changes to bring those 2 documents into conformity. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion regarding these 6 changes to governing resolution and 4 changes to the election ordinance to make these documents complement one another instead of conflict in certain circumstances? Remember, elders, please raise your red card so a microphone can be brought to you. All others, come to the podium, please. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion regarding these proposed changes? We have a hand raised in the front, please. Thank you, Eric. Microphone will be brought to you. And please state your name for the record.
I am Grace A. Myers, and I suggest or nominate all changes be acted upon now.
I just want to make sure I understood the motion properly. Were you recommending a motion to be made to adopt all the, or to finalize these language changes?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a second? We've got a second. We now have a motion on the floor. We are entering into the discussion phase. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against finalizing all 6 governing resolution changes and the 4 election ordinance changes. For those who are not elders, please feel free, come to the podium. We have a card raised. Someone wishes to speak.
Stephen Crane. I'm just asking, I'm kind of confused on this. Can I speak on the petition? Is that correct? Can I do that?
We're in the debate phase for the motion itself, Stephen.
So I can, is that correct? Okay. I am speaking on the one and only ever ran petition that was successfully ran. It took 87 days to receive 286 completed verified signatures. The cost was $1,700. Kind of costly to run a petition by sending out 1,070 petitions. By increasing the numbers of signatures to 500 and reducing the days to 45 days will only tie the hands and take away the tribal members' voices.
Excuse me, Stephen, I think what you're debating is actually going to be taken up in Special General Counsel 2.
Okay.
As opposed to 1. So just hold on to that comment and please be ready during the debate phase for Special General Counsel number 2.
Today or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Would anyone else like to discuss the motion? Roman?
Good morning.
General Counsel.
I got a question, a point of information. There were some proposed changes that were postponed to a time certain. What is the status of those? My understanding is that business is still in the Assembly's hands.
Is that not covered with these 6 on the governing resolution and 4 in the election
ordinance?
ordinance?
This is like a point of information because some of them, Section 2 is not addressed in the governing resolution.
That is correct. These are just for 3 and 4.
And Section 2, so to bring the election ordinance and the governing resolution into sync, Section 2 is still going to be in conflict with.
Can you speak into the
Section
microphone, please?
Section 2 is still going to be in conflict with the election ordinance, and it's not on the meeting. So I'm asking, are we going to, what's the status of everything that was postponed? Is what the question is.
Could we get a microphone over to the election committee, please? I think I heard Julia wishing to speak. I don't think Julia can hear.
Can you restate your full comment, please?
Yes, the point of information is requesting what's the status of the business that was postponed in September. Contain information to amend additional stuff that would have brought the governing resolution in accordance with the election ordinance. Some of that's not being presented here today, and if we move forward with what's being presented, Section 2 is still going to be in conflict. Section 2 of the governing resolution is still going to be in conflict with the election ordinance.
So.
Would it be helpful for folks if you, Section 2 is not particularly lengthy. I'm more than happy to read through that if it would be helpful.
I'm assuming that due to that previous general counsel, we did ask for notification, the 30-day notification, correct? And then once that occurred, which I'm assuming it has, then we would also call for a general counsel for the Constitution Committee's section, the Section 2 that you're referring to, be edited, right? Isn't that how we were going with when we met? So.
The request for information, maybe this is a parliamentary question, is what's the status of when business gets postponed to a time certain, what happens to that business? My understanding is that business is still in the hands of the Assembly, which means all of that should have been brought forward and not just a portion of it.
So if I recall correctly, that one item that you were referring, if memory serves me, there were 9 specific changes that the Constitution Committee was bringing forward September 7th and 8th, right? One of them, we actually finalized the language, correct? There were two. Okay. So that language is already finalized. And then everything else basically got postponed. Have I got that right? Oh, Frank's got a question. Can we get a microphone up to the election committee, please?
Okay, I wasn't here at the last meeting. Circumstances, I wasn't here. I apologize for that. Now, I'm not up to everything here, but my understanding is this is all about saying that our election ordinance and our governing resolutions are in conflict with each other. Well, I really don't think they are. Basically, when we adopted the ordinance in 2004, section identification, it says, this ordinance, also known as the Quapaw Election Voting Ordinance of 2004, is referred to herein as the election ordinance. The passage of this election ordinance shall repeal and replace any prior election laws relating to the Quapaw Nation. I think that kind of answers the question. Anything that was in our governing resolutions were gone when we adopted this. So there's no real conflict. And Section 2, this, I have to applaud all the people that worked creating this in 2004. This was not an easy thing to do. It was not passed the first time. It had to be presented several times. And this thing has endured since 2004, and the reason it has is because it's a good document. And, you know, we're just losing our common sense and bringing up technicalities on it. We need to get back to using common sense to decide what's best for our nation. And I don't see a conflict between our election ordinance and our governing resolutions. The election ordinance clearly states it replaces everything that came before it that was inside the governing resolutions. Now, does that answer the question? And Roman says no.
Thank you. I'm asking just more of a formality. Now, I agree with you 100% that there needs to be a blending of the documents so that we're operating by how we've been operating. That's what the Constitution Committee was presenting at the last General Council. And what I'm speaking to is the formality of when something gets postponed at a meeting, that business is still in the hands of the assembly. It has not died on the table. It has not been discharged. So that information should all be coming forward at this time and not just part of it. And I'm saying that because if we did approve everything as it sits right now, Section 2 is not being presented to be amended, and Section 2 does.
So can we,
It does.
this is a question, I think, a good parliamentarian question.
Correct.
Based on, and I know that the meeting minutes from the 9/7/98 Special General Council meeting have not been ratified, adopted by this body. Can we go back to the draft of those meeting minutes to review exactly where we left off at that time based on the specifics of that motion? Are those draft meeting minutes accessible? Mm-mm.
Madam Chair, what do we need to do to move this meeting along?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
What do we need to do to get this meeting rolling again? We're at a stalemate here.
I'm referring back to the draft notes, and then hopefully we can put this to rest and move forward.
Thank you.
Right, because
Barbara.
There's a question up front. Can we get a microphone to Barbara, please?
Hello. I'd like a clarification. One saying one thing and one saying another. If this was put on the table in the draft, then a motion can be made to bring it off the table. Then it'll be eligible for the next step, for the Indian Council to vote on it.
So I think the way this was phrased, it was either a request for information or a parliamentary inquiry, which makes it eligible. You can interrupt at any time at that point, and then ultimately the chair must rule. Have I got that right, parliamentarian?
He's still looking. If that's the case, then I make a motion to bring it back off the table.
So typically when you have a main motion that's been postponed to it can be either postponed to a time certain or postponed to another time within the same meeting. From what I recall in the September meeting, there wasn't an actual motion that was being determined at that time. And that the language to amend Section 2 wasn't actually in conformance with Section 14 of the governing resolution. It had to be posted 30 days before. So if we were to take up Section 2 today, that would not be in accordance with Section 14 of the governing resolution because the language hadn't been posted 30 days ahead of time. So we can't take it from the table because under Robert's rules, you would take it from the table, but we still have to conform to the governing resolution to amend the governing resolution of Section 14. So Section 2, it's not available to take up today.
Can I get more information before you step away, Eric? So there were 9 items that were on the agenda. 2 of them were addressed. 7, those following 7 items were postponed to a time certain, postponed to 30 days. Notice had been given, right? And in consideration, we're starting to consider other items, but not all of those items that were in consideration. So that's where my question is coming up. Our goal is to unify our governance and the election ordinance and the governing resolution, but by not addressing Section 2, we're still not bringing that into unification. And Section 2 has the stipulation of dates attached to it, has requirements attached to it, has qualifications attached to it that, according to the Drummond Woodson's legal opinion, is still going to trump the election ordinance requirements because of the additional requirements that the election ordinance adds to that information, or to Section 2.
So Section 2 currently reads, no person shall be a candidate for membership in the Quapaw Nation Business Committee unless he shall be a member of the Quapaw Nation by blood and on the approved Quapaw rolls, and shall be at least 25 years of age. A $50 filing fee will be imposed for each candidate filing for office and requires a pre-certification for those candidates seeking the position of the Secretary-Treasurer. Also, nominees from the floor will be required to post a $50 filing fee with 30 days to pay the filing fee, which applies to all candidates posting filing fees. Where we left off on September the 7th and 8th, these are not from the official minutes. The language was finalized for the first proposed amendment After extensive discussion on the second proposed amendment, the meeting went into recess and reconvened the next morning. After coming out of recess the next morning, a motion was made to postpone to a specific time, all 9 proposed amendments until the proposed amendments can be broadly communicated to tribal members for their review for at least 30 days. Another special general council will be called for consideration of the 9 proposed amendments. Upon discussion and vote, the motion to postpone passed. Those were from my notes. Is that an accurate? I think that sounds accurate. Okay. So Section 2 changes were not provided 30 days in advance of this meeting. Therefore, we are not going to take it up at this time.
Can you read that one more time, the recap?
The notes? The notes? Okay.
My understanding is if that was the intention, that this meeting is out of order because when we were told that when we voted to postpone all 9, our understanding was that all 9 would come back. And when all 9 don't come back, that means that this call would technically be out of order and not in congruence with what was postponed, because that is what was agreed on. And all 9 are not back in front of us today.
That is correct, and that's the reason that we sat down with both the Election Committee, the Constitution Committee, and then jointly to come up with a unified approach. At that time, we asked, is everybody okay with that? The response was yes, after rigorous discussion, and this is where we landed. Not including the original 9.
Our response was that what's being proposed is an addition to those 9 items. And those 9 items are not in front of us today.
Correct. Those 9 items are not in front of us today. The overlap between the 2, I'm not aware, but it definitely doesn't address Section 2, Roman.
The call for this meeting is only to finalize the language to amend the governing resolution, right?
Yeah, to get the 2 documents, the governing resolution and the election ordinance, into conformity. That's special general council 1, and then there are 3 more meetings afterwards. I just wanted to be clear about that.
To amend the governing resolution, it's going to be a different, and I'm sorry everybody, this is what we're talking about is formality, right? We've been abused in the past by our leadership and have had these rules thrown out the window altogether, and we've been led down this path of confusion, not knowing what to do. We've had other lawyers sitting up here saying, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that, and protect the elected officials, but your voice is not being protected. And that's what we're trying to do is make sure we've been given a clear set of guidelines to follow, and we're not following. So I apologize for this taking longer, but formality is important. And this question that we follow that formality is important, because if we let little things go like this, people make rules to enrich themselves and enrich others in various ways, because we're allowing them to not follow the rules. So forgive me, I'm sorry for bringing this up in this way, but this is why it's important, because we can't just do things half-assed. Sorry, excuse my language. We can't just do things half the way and then wait for things to get done on another time, while the whole point of what we're doing here is to follow the darn rules. That's what the Constitution Committee is trying to put forward, is so that we could have a clean set of rules to follow. And now we only got half of them, which still puts us in the position to have a mess on our plate come election time.
Is it all right if I speak?
Of course, Frank.
Okay. Now, I may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm not the dullest one either. Basically, when this all started, in my opinion only, This got started because of prior leadership, and we all know who I'm talking about. And I don't think when Roman says past leadership have led us down the path astray, he's talking about this BC or the previous BC before that. He's talking about the one that was in office for like 20 years. Now, basically, we have understood, and we know that we don't have to put up with that anymore. He had us all bamboozled. He controlled all the meetings, and it took Steve Crane to figure out, coming up with a petition to get rid of one bad leader. If it had only happened sooner, like 10 years before that, we could have been miles ahead. Now, in my opinion, the Constitution, that sounds great, but we've been operating with our governing resolution since 1956, and we've only had one really bad, super bad leader since then. One we could call him not so good. But in all, it's been working very well. Our election ordinance was created because the tribe was increasing in population, and we needed to have that to make the elections fair to everybody and make it where anybody in the country, no matter where, would have the opportunity to vote. A lot's been said about the election committee not wanting people to vote and how we're denying 4,000 extra votes to be there. We're not denying anybody anything. All they have to do is register to vote. I mean, come on, we're all adults. We have to register for everything. You have to register to get that meat the tribe gives us. You have to register to get a driver's license. You have to take the test. You have to register to vote in any kind of election there ever is, except on our ceremonial elections. It's not a secret vote. Everybody's here in the same room together. Everybody talks amongst themselves. It's not secret at all. You don't have to be registered for that. Our other ones, to me, this is a ceremonial vote. This is where we, the people, get to voice our opinion. Everybody. Nobody has to be registered. He has to be qualified. Be qualified, you just have to be 18 years old. Now, when we come to our ballot votes, that's a whole different situation, folks. We need registered voters there. We need some way to keep that election valid. And the only way to validate that and make sure people get to vote more than once, twice, three times. I don't think that's happened since they come up with the election ordinances. It is almost foolproof. Haven't figured out a way for a single person to file more than one vote and be able to get away with it with the system we've got. But that's off subject a little bit. That'll come up later on another meeting we're having today. But get back to this. It clearly states when we adopted the election ordinance, everything prior to that was in our governing resolutions, it was canceled. Election ordinance took precedence over all the elections. They are the new election laws. And by golly, we got definitions. We got stuff that covers everything. I don't know why we're having such a big problem with this, having this split with this. Yeah, the Constitution Committee, that's a tough job. Romans took a job on that's through thankless. When I got into the election committee, I was told, well, we're kind of treated like stepchilds of the tribe. Well, they got the same deal. Basically, we're here to serve you. This is our meeting for us. We're not trying to take anybody's voices. But we don't see any sense in spending a lot of time arguing over the same thing, which is just repetitive, just over and over and over, and does not get anything accomplished. That's all I've got to say on the subject.
Mikhail?
I would like to say in the discussion of this motion that a lot of this is going on right here is somewhat unnecessary to this motion here. At the root of this is just mostly we have two different committees here, well, three peripherally, who have been given jurisdiction by this council. And in pursuit of their own jurisdictions, they have trampled on each other. Frank and the election committee have done a very good job. We passed this ordinance. At some level, it feels like you are feeling like we are challenging the integrity of your committee. I don't believe that's what Roman and them are doing. I don't think what any of us believe it's doing. It is true, everything you have said. However, what Roman then said is true too. even though we intended for that ordinance to replace all prior laws, it is still written in our governing resolution. I don't know the legal ramifications of this, but I can say that the fact that Roman and other people are interpreting it differently is evidence and known that it is a violation of the integrity of our law that is still written in this way. I know there are other amendments that Roman wants to get pushed. They're not on it today. I don't know what the business committee's intention was just to have these few motions today, but I can say already with the amount of time we spent on this one, what they have put forward is already ambitious for these 2 days. Bringing all 9 at once would not be a realistic option. Therefore, I wish we could speed along, get these motions, and then after these are concluded, move on to the other ones that are intended to be brought up.
Thank you, Mikhail. I would like to, well, we've got somebody else raising their hand.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. I know we've all got places we'd rather be than sitting here, but thank you for your interest in the tribe and in our governing resolution, each and every one of you. My problem with the election ordinance has always been the way it was adopted. Under the hierarchy of law, you cannot amend a lesser document, amend a higher document by amending a lesser document. And that's what we did with the election ordinance. We attempted to change the governing resolution by saying, we're going to change this document and not the governing resolution. By this document, we're going to change the governing resolution. So that argument to me is just invalid to begin with. I would also like to thank the election committee for all the work they've done. I know you guys have had a hard road to hoe from the very beginning. And you've done a dynamite job with trying to get everything together and keep it together. I also agree with what Roman has said. And this is the time and this is the place to make these changes and get our organizational documents together and get them straightened out and coordinated. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your vote and your being here to do it. And I hope that we can get our election ordinance in line with our governing resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda Kay. I would like to make a recommendation on how we proceed considering the request for information. I don't have the motion quite right, Robin, that you made earlier. The fact that the previous 9 the motion was to postpone all 9, and they are not included in this. We cannot bring it up today because inadequate notice was provided. If we included those, and honestly, I think it was a miss, none of the Section 2 changes are included in what was communicated to tribal members in writing at least 30 days in advance of this meeting. Therefore, we need to stick to the content that was provided 30 days ago and recognize that we've still got unfinished business that needs to be tended to. I mean, that's just the honest point. So I suggest we go back to the motion that Ms. Myers put forward and continue that discussion phase. We have another question.
My name is Karen Cummings. I have a question. How can we go through the rest of these if that previous one isn't included? Because it seems like we're out of order with the way that it's written on there. We're skipping the first part. So how can we go ahead and do the rest of that if we can't do the first part?
Others are welcome to chime in, but each one of these changes are pretty, the Section 2 changes are completely different than the Section 3 and 4 changes, just based on the underlying content. The messaging and what it actually expresses is quite different than what Section 3 and 4 state. Does that make sense? They're kind of independent of each other.
But yet, aren't we asking to change the length of time for you all to be in office?
Not in this particular motion. This motion, it strictly pertains to at least some, not all, but that's what we've learned. Some of the differences, the contradictions between the governing resolution and the election ordinance in order to bring them into conformity. The terms is in Special General Counsel 3, and we have not taken that matter up yet.
Okay, and another question too. Before we, as the General Counsel, made some of the decisions, and one of these, this is asking that that be given over to the Business Committee. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you restate your question? I'm not sure I'm clear.
Some of the things that were supposed to go out for us to make the decision in the General Counsel, in one of these, is it not being given to the Business Committee to make some of those decisions without the General Counsel?
I don't think so. Are you guys aware of anything that?
Delegating authority to the Quapaw Nation Business Committee to speak and act on behalf of the Quapaw Nation?
That's what the current governing resolution states.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am. So let's go back to the main motion. Betty Gadke has her card raised.
Okay. For me, it feels like this meeting is out of order because, and I don't know how we can go forward and just leave something behind when they were all submitted together. So how can we vote? How can we vote on this? It's not presented to us correctly, I think.
So nobody's getting forced into anything. There's always an option to basically take that motion that was just made and it was seconded to lay it on the table. So there is, it's up to General Counsel to determine what, if any, changes in the language that you wish to finalize to send to a balloted vote. If you're saying that you don't want any of these changes to kind of reach a final enough state so that it goes to a ballot, that's clearly the choice of the Quapaw Indian Council.
So I make a motion to lay it on the table until Section 2 catches up.
Would that be a postpone or a lay on the table, Eric Giles, parliamentarian?
That would be a motion to lay on the table.
Okay.
It depends on, you could say lay on the table to the next special general council meeting or to some other time certain.
Let Betty speak so that she can, specify her motion.
Well, yeah, and just to clarify that even though you would put this on following Robert's rules, you still have to follow governing resolution section 14, amendments to the governing resolution. So the final language of amendments or the proposed language for the amendments has to be published 30 days in advance. You have to follow those because Robert's Rules of Order is it yields to tribal law, and so tribal law has to be followed ultimately in accordance with that.
So can today be day one for the next 30 days and we'll come back in 30? Yeah, if we table this meeting, we have to come back to it.
So Betty, is your motion to,
Lay it on the table for now and give 30-day notice and let's come back in 30 days. That's my motion.
all right, that particular motion requires a second. Is there anyone who wishes to second that? We see a hand. We've got a second. We are now, that's not debatable. I don't think no, that's not debatable. We go to the vote as to whether we want to lay these on the table. A simple majority vote wins. The motion is not debatable. Once something is laid on the table and it gains a second, there's no discussion phase. We go directly to the vote.
Yeah, you got the runaround. They kept you busy. Maybe that's what I should do, is walk up and down the aisle.
The original motion that Ms. Myers made,
Yeah, listen.
that motion has a sub-motion to lay it on the table, and that's what we're addressing. Have I got it right?
Right across from me, just parallel, straight across there. Oh, up there.
No, we'll do one at a time. Yep. Will the election committee be providing some instructions to voters so that we know what to do with our voting devices? Sorry, Frank. Some of us need refreshers.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, our favorite thing, we love them or we hate them. They work or they don't. We know down there in the right-hand corner, you got the little power button. Push that. Turn it on, it should say welcome. Well, mine actually says welcome. And it shows I've got a full battery. So basically, everybody's device power up. Normally, we've done this so many times in the last couple of years, it's usually it's going to be a 1 for yes, 2 for no. We'll see what we come up with. But if anybody has a device that does not power up, hold up your hand so we can assist you, trade it out, whatever it needs to be done. Okay, everybody, the question's up on the screen. Basically, well, I can't see it. Speaker in the way. We're going to take a vote whether to table for 30 days, first general council meeting. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain. And everybody already knows how to do it. Look at them numbers going up. Hey, can you guys put it on the other screen over there or the center screen?
No, it's only going to show up on.
Well, a bunch of people can't see it because the big speaker's hanging down.
Oh.
Seems to be some confusion. Yes would be we would table it for 30 days. This is only the first special general council meeting. No would be, no, we would not table it. And 3, you could choose not to vote. I would like to thank the ones that braved the cold to come out this morning. It is very cold, and it is hard to keep it warm in here, especially if the doors stay open. Let's try to keep those side doors closed if we can.
While we wait, we're going to do a raffle. If you could pull out your blue ticket, please. Has everybody got their blue ticket handy? 062020. The last four numbers is 2020. 062020. Might take us just a moment because these were put in the hopper. The next number is 062393. 2393, last four digits. The last four digits are 2291, 2291. The door prize is a box with glasses, coasters, and sweets. 062291. No screams in the crowd. We're going to move on. The last four digits is 2147. 2147. Last four digits. Yay! If you'll go back to the registration table where Miss Carrie is waving her arm. Can't even get that out. I apologize. Miss Carrie Sisson has your door prize. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like the motion to table for 30 days, the first special general council meeting, won by majority at 52.7%. So special general council 1 is now tabled. All right. All right, folks, so we're going to go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn special general council number 1. Motion to adjourn. Great. Is there a second? Yep, we've got a second. Okay, all those in favor of adjourning special general council meeting 1, please say aye. All those opposed? All righty. We're just going to roll right into special general council number 2. All right, so the purpose of special general council meeting number 2 is to finalize language to make certain amendments to the 2004 election ordinance for 4 specific changes. Those changes include, first, clarify the scope to make sure that it includes the Quapaw Nation Business Committee and petitions. Second, changing the phrase calendar days to business days for consistency. Third, changing the number of registered voter signatures required to recall an elected official from 250 to 30% in section 16.2 to recognize the growth of enrollment. And fourth, any petition must include date of signature, printed name, and roll number. Any petition started must be turned in within 45 days from the first signature to the enrollment and election committees for verification. At this point, I would invite the election committee to provide additional descriptions on these. I did want to share with everybody that the entire election committee proposed these changes. It does not represent the full complement of all changes they wish to bring forward to the Quapaw Nation, but it is a really good start. Just as a primer, want to make sure y'all know, in addition, all references to tribe have already been replaced with nation per approval of the Quapaw Indian Council and a balloted vote back in 2018. Frazier.
Okay, we're back. We have a PowerPoint presentation up here. Now, we realized, this was created in 2004. It served a really good purpose, but we've noticed some inconsistencies in it that even us as the election committee realize that, and we've heard through the years complaints from different people. So instead of trying to rewrite the whole election committee like our governing resolutions were done to, we just proposed these small changes to start off with, and in each coming election cycle or our annual elections, we'll propose something else until we get it to the point where everybody's happy with what it's saying. Well, not everybody can be happy. You can never make anybody happy, not 100%. But if you look up here, we have our proposed changes, and Mikhail will run the PowerPoint for us. First one up is just a wording change. And basically, in our original wording says, hereby establishes through this ordinances the policies and procedures by which elections for the Quapaw, and I'm going to say tribe, or nation here where it says tribe, nation shall be conducted. We want to change that to hereby establishes through this ordinance the policies and procedures by which elections for the Quapaw Nation Business Committee shall be conducted. That's the first thing we want to change. Basically, it shouldn't offend anybody because it doesn't really affect anything. Simple. Okay, Miguel, let's roll over to the next one. To what? That's the very first paragraph of our election ordinance. Yep. The second one, what we'd like to propose to do, and this really affects us, the election committee, more than it does you guys. It makes it really hard for us when we go figuring out the timeline for elections when we have to deal with calendar days versus business days. I know it sounds like something really very trivial, but it does really affect our timelines and how we create them. So what we would like to do is propose changing the use of the words calendar days to the words business days in the 2004 election ordinance to avoid confusion. I mean, it's a real simple, easy one. It'll make it a lot easier for us to figure out our timelines. It'll make it a lot easier when, realistically, people decide to run as a candidate. Most people never look at the election ordinance. I could probably ask people to raise their hands who all has read our election ordinances, and more than likely it's just going to be the people that's ran for office before. If you're somebody that just likes to read a lot of stuff, I applaud you for it because, it's could be pretty boring. It gets pretty technical and everything, so this will really help us, the election committee, to help the nation. Okay, that's the second thing we'd like to change. Third one is, we would like to propose changing the number of registered voters required to recall an elected official from 250 signatures, make that 30% of registered voters. This, as it says in section 16.2, 250 registered voters, at the time when they created this, that was probably maybe 50% of the registered voters at that time. We're just asking for a percentage because that way, every time we have a population increase, we have a voter registration increase, it'll reflect the number of people that have to dedicate themselves in order to make a change with a petition. Shouldn't be a biggie. So 500 is only 29% of our registered voters, and right now we have a little over 1,700 registered voters. So that's not too bad. Okay, Bill? And fourth, the election committee would like to propose adding a timeline for any petition started. We propose that any petition started must be turned in within 45 days from the first signature to the Enrollment and Election Committee for verification. Petition must include date by signature, printed name, and roll number. Now I know some people are thinking 45 days, that's not long enough. Now we're not saying when you decide to make that up, you only got a 45-day time limit. We're saying 45 days from the first time you turn in some signatures. When you turn in that first page of signatures or whatever, you got 45 days, the clock starts running, get that other 30%, the rest of those required voters turned in. Basically, 45 days, that should be ample time if it's a good subject that needs to be taken care of and you got a strong person that's running that petition. Okay, now, these four things is what we'd like to change at this time. But this all depends on you guys. Like I said, this is our meeting. We are the nation. We are the people that's controlling this. If we vote, all we're asking for is to have you guys give us permission to put that on a ballot form. If between now and then you decide, hey, I don't like that one or I don't like that one, you just vote no. Simple as that. It will simplify things and make it quicker. We're not going to sit here and try to go 1, 2, 3, 4, changing language, doing this, debating, all that. Pretty simple. We don't want to take up a whole lot of time. It shouldn't have to take a whole lot of time to do this. Now, do we have any questions? Yes, Bill. I think we're going to business days on everything. I know it. So we forgot to put that. We will make a note and we will put that on the ballot. Make a note.
Frank, have you made a motion?
Yes. Make a motion. Would somebody make a motion to change that to read 45 days, put that 45 business days? We have a motion from Bill. We need a second for that. And Rick put his hand up. He seconds that to change that from just 45 days to 45 business days. Now, business days makes it a lot simpler because we are putting in a lot of holidays anymore. Federal government's just making holidays like crazy.
So I'm a little confused just about where we are right now. So did you already make a main motion for all 4 or just one of the 4?
Okay, you can tell I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
Okay, I need somebody to make the motion to accept those, to put them on the ballot for our annual election. And do I need to make Bill's motion as a secondary motion to amend 45 days?
Because I haven't recognized a motion on the floor yet. That's why I'm trying to kind of get it all together.
No, I'm not making the motion. I'm asking for somebody to make the motion, and Rick will.
Okay. No.
Rick Mercer.
Rick Mercer is making the motion.
We're not in the discussion phase yet. As soon as we get a motion on the floor, we'll go into debate, and then there'll be, questions and discussion available to all.
What is?
The motion is to accept those 4 changes we want to make to the election ordinance. Correct, Rick?
So you're wanting to dock all 4 of the changes?
It's to finalize all 4 proposed changes.
Yeah, it's finalize all 4.
All right, is there a second? Okay, we have a second from Bonnie.
Bonnie
We have a
seconds.
motion on the floor. We are now in discussion. I see multiple people got their hands raised. 1 over here and 2 over here. Oh, another one in the back.
Hello? Oh. Okay, when you're say putting these on a ballot, are you putting them on one ballot or are you singling out each one of them so we can vote? Because some of those we don't agree with.
No,
Some we do.
there'll be individual questions on a ballot. So you can look at it, just like when we voted for all the resolutions to our general.
So we'll be able to vote singly and they won't be all bunched into
you can
one.
vote, yeah, I like that one. Nope, I don't like that one. Nope, I don't like that one. You might just vote, you may not like any of them, vote no for all of them. Or if everybody decides, we might just let this go right now if nobody wants to make any changes. That's what we're asking for, is permission to put this on our ballot.
Hold on, we've got discussion without microphones. People need to be recognized. I think there was somebody over here that had a question, all right?
Okay, on 45 days after you turn it in, how long do you guys have to verify everything?
In front of me right now, I don't have it, but it's like it goes to the enrollment first to verify the signatures, and then it comes back to the election committee to verify also before it gets sent to the BC.
Can you give us a time frame?
You guys have that in front of you? Yeah. Evidently, that's something that we did not think of. So we will have to have another meeting and present it to you.
Why vote on it then if you?
We can't hear the discussion.
Generally, when a petition is turned into us, we immediately call a meeting within our committee, and within that, 5-day week, whatever it's turned in, we meet on it. So enrollment has to verify, and then they give it to us and say, these have all been verified, and then we call our meeting and it's done. I mean, it's a quick thing. However, it isn't written in here, and I think that it should be, and so that's definitely something we need to look at adding, I think, in my opinion.
Okay, we had another question over here. Go ahead.
I think we're going to move everything to business days. Yeah, weekends are not a business day for the ordinary people. You know, for casino workers, business days are 7 days a week.
We have another question over here on the right-hand side of the room.
Yes, I had a couple questions.
Sure.
The first one on 30% of registered voters. How many registered voters do we have?
At this point, we have a little over 1,700.
How many voted in the last election?
Hang on a second. I'm sure one of them.
Little over 400.
Little over 400.
So for a petition to get somebody removed, that person needs to come up with more voters than the election committee is coming up with for our annual election. I feel like that's catch-22. That's never going to happen. And I think that's setting us up for failure.
Well, I don't really agree with that. As we grow in population, we're going to get more and more voters.
Historically, we've had less than 500 people.
Hold on, there was somebody else who had their hand up before.
There has to be an accountability, as we are all adults, as to take how serious we want to affect what's going on in our nation. If people don't care, there's nothing we can do about that. We can't force people to vote.
Barbara has a question. Can somebody get the microphone to Barbara, please?
Well, one of my questions was answered about doing them individually, because there may be some that somebody don't agree with and some that they do. Also, on the one that has about the roll number, where you were just wanting, the petition must include date by signature, printed name, and roll number.
Yes.
Okay. There are Quapaws that can vote on things that are Quapaw by blood. They're not going to have a roll number.
They still have a QB number, though, because they come in and vote at our annual elections.
But the wording says roll number. So that's just my, if you don't have a roll number, then according to that, you would not be able to vote because or sign it because you'd have to have a roll number. I mean, it's just technicalities again. Get it right the first time.
Throughout the election ordinance, there's a reference to many places where it's just days. It doesn't reference business days or calendar days. And are all of those is it assumed? Are we just assuming that those are getting amended also to be business days?
Well, we're talking about our annual elections is what we're talking about. And most of those are either covered by calendar days or business days. I don't remember seeing any of them in our election ordinance where it just said days.
120 days under petitions.
It's in 120 days.
That changes us from 4 months to 6 months. There's the number of cases where days. It's not specific. 30 days.
Yeah, I assume we're going to change everything. If it says days such as, we're going to go by business days. But that will also allow us to be able to adjust our timelines too, where it won't be quite as long. Because there are other changes that we see in the future. We're going to shorten some things up. These were just the initial 4 items that we would like to propose to people. And it's up to you guys. If you don't like what we're proposing, you don't have to accept them.
Virginia? Yes. We'll get that microphone hopefully working, and then we'll come back over to the other side of the room.
Okay, my first thing. So you're wanting us to just blanket approve all of these and move forward?
Yes.
Language changes. These are language changes that are then going to end up on a ballot.
Now, we're not asking
over 1,700 registered voters, 30% is at least 566. Historically, in our elections for the last at least 5 years,
We have less than 500. If you don't want to do the job, sit down and let somebody else do it. And that's not directed at you personally. It's a statement in general. You can
Right.
disagree. I don't have a problem with that. The other thing is, if you're going to put something before general counsel, and here we're already finding numerous things that need to be corrected, it's not a complete document. It's not ready for general counsel. I make a motion that we table this until the election committee actually has it all together.
So we have a
Julia,
motion
you've got
to lay it on the
45
table.
days.
Point of
Hold
order.
on, hold on.
Point of order.
Virginia just made a motion to lay this on the table. Is there a second? We have a second. That motion is not debatable. We're going to the vote, folks.
Well, like I said, this was just something we was wanting to propose. It was your
Point of
guys'
order.
option.
We have a motion. We need to have a second. We have a second. Okay. Well, I didn't see the second. Not debatable. The motion to lay the topic on the table is not debatable, so this now needs to go to a vote if we want to lay it on the table or not. So this goes to
Discussion's
the vote.
closed. Oh, yeah, there's a special.
Get your blue tickets ready, please. We're going to draw for another raffle. Last four digits are 2003. And this is for a White House 2024 Christmas tree ornament and a Senior Games t-shirt and folding chair. 2003.
Sounds like we got it.
Sweet. Okay. Christina, just see Carrie Sisson in the back and she'll get that for you. Thank you.
Okay, we finally got something on the computer over here. Basically, it's going to map out to like the first one. It's just going to say we're going to table General Counsel number 2 to better organize. There's not enough room to put all the stuff that we need to write, so it'll be something simple like that. Yes, you want to table it, or table the Special General Counsel number 2. You want to just shut it down right now. 2, you want to go ahead and have it, or 3, you abstain. He's going to put it up on his computer screen right now. Let the voting commence. And if you can't see it, it's 1. I know the big speaker's in the way. Basically, it states, motion to table second General Counsel meeting to organize. 1, yes, you want to table it. 2, you want to continue the meeting. 3, you want to abstain. Basically, just exactly like the first one we did. You know, I thought when we asked for these things, it wouldn't be that tough. I thought, well, there's 4 things. We're just asking to put them on a ballot. If you didn't like them, you could vote no. Yeah, Virginia, I hear you. I didn't ask for your opinion either.
Okay, the motion passes. The motion to table the second GC meeting to organize has passed. Is there a motion to adjourn special GC number 2? Motion, second. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. All those opposed, Special GC meeting is adjourned. We will now go into a 15-minute recess. So we will come back at 2:35. All right, we're going to go ahead and call to order the Special General Council meeting number 3. The purpose of this particular Special General Council is to propose a change in business committee terms from 2 to 4 years for elections occurring after and if the change is approved. This proposed change will require updates to both the governing resolution as well as the election ordinance. Let us review the 4 changes required to the governing resolution and then the last 2 to the election ordinance. Please direct your attention to the blue changes in the governing resolution. The first proposed change to the governing resolution is to Section 3, Paragraph A. We realize this does not match perfectly with what was in the Quapaw Post, and we appreciate your understanding. It does include language to both strike as well as add. These words would be stricken. Elections shall be held for specified offices each year. Hereafter, staggered terms of office as members of this remains Quapaw, strike tribal, add nation. Business committee members shall have terms of office of 4 years or until successors are elected, qualified, and installed. Elections shall be staggered as follows. That's the first change. The second proposed change is to Section 3, Paragraph A, subsection 1. It reads, the election of chairman, secretary, treasurer, and 1 committee member shall be every other even-numbered year in July and prior to the expiration of the previous terms. That's the second change. The third proposed change to the governing resolution is to Section 3, Paragraph A, subsection 2. It would read, the election of the vice chairman and 3 committee members shall be held, strike a bunch of words, every other odd-numbered years in July and prior to the expiration of the previous terms. The fourth and final proposed change to the governing resolution for this particular item is to Section 3, Paragraph, it's the old C and the new B. It reads, the first election conducted under this amendment will be in July 2025 for those positions described in A2 and July 2026 for those positions described in A1. And that's it. If you refer to the Quapaw Post about a third of the way through, it includes sections 3 and 4 of the governing resolution. And we're focused exclusively on the blue changes to the governing resolution. So we've got the announcement on one side and then the governing resolution on the next opposing page. And it's just the blue changes. Ignore the red. So that finishes the proposed changes to the governing resolution regarding business committee terms. Let us now review the 2 proposed changes required to the election ordinance. Immediately following the governing resolution in the Quapaw Post, there is included an entire, turn the pages 3 times and you'll get to the election ordinance, and the entire election ordinance is included. Again, we're focused on the blue changes in the election ordinance. If you proceed to Section 4.1 of the election ordinance, the first proposed change to the election ordinance is to that 4.1 that reads, regular elections shall be held in July as provided in the governing resolution. Elections shall be held at the polling place on the day established by the election committee. The second and final proposed change in the election ordinance, these are the blue changes again, is in Section 8.2. So please go to Section 8.2. We're going to focus on the blue language. The terms of the business committee members shall be for a period of 4 years. Business committee members shall hold office until their successors are duly elected and given their oath of office. So that finishes the proposed changes to the election ordinance regarding the business committee terms. So just to recap, 4 specific changes in the governing resolution, 2 specific changes in the election ordinance. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion regarding these changes? Can we get a microphone to Dana, please?
I make a motion to accept these changes.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the changes as described. Is there a second? We've got a second. We are now in discussion. The motion on the floor is to accept the changes as proposed. Who would like to discuss this? Barbara Collier, can we get the microphone to her, please?
I would like to see these done one at a time and not as a group. I think there's too much variance in the differences to accept them all at once. So I'd make a motion to address their motion.
That's fine. I mean, that's a sub motion, okay? So we can go through these and talk about each one individually. Is that the nature of the motion, Barbara? Is there a second for this? Okay, we've got a second. So now we are in discussion for, we're going to go through each one of them individually. Okay, so the first one, please go back to the blue language in the governing resolution, and please place your attention in section 3, paragraph A, okay? Austin, are we able to get this document up on the screen? It might be easier. I don't know if it's going to make it better or worse for folks. But this is the particular one that had an error in what was published in the Quapaw Post. I think there was an additional word "to" in it, which made it confusing. Okay, so the way that the first proposed change reads is in paragraph 3A, I'm just going to read the language that would be left. Quapaw Nation Business Committee members shall have terms of office of 4 years or until successors are elected, qualified, and installed. Elections shall be staggered as follows. Let's open it up for discussion. We've got a question in front, Eric. Dana's standing. Folks are also free to utilize the podium.
Hello? I make a motion to accept that change of the one you just read.
Section 3A.
Section 3A.
So I have a parliamentarian question. We had the main motion to accept all of these changes, all 6, as presented. That was seconded. Then we got a sub motion to go through them one at a time. And then Dana has made a motion to accept the language for this particular one. Are we doing this correctly?
Have to vote on whether everybody wants to go through.
Thank you. We just got a parliamentarian ruling that when Ms. Barbara made the motion to go through them individually, that was seconded. What we should have done, and this is what we're going to do now, is we need to vote. Do we wish to go through each of one of these individually? There's 6. It's not scary. Well, we're going to vote on this one time to whether you all, the Quapaw Indian Council, agree to review each one of these individually and to finalize the language of each of these individually. So election committee, we need to have a vote on Barbara's motion to review these individually. Good question. The question for the parliamentarian, is that debatable? The motion that Barbara made that was seconded. Did I hear that properly? It is not debatable? Thank you. It's not debatable. So I'll just recap for everybody where we are. There was a main motion to accept all of them as proposed. Then we went into a sub-motion to say, you know what, let's go through these one at a time. That is the motion that we're voting on.
Okay, I think we're getting it set up now. We are going to vote on whether to look at the motions individually, right today? Okay, question we're going to put up on the screen is, we were looking to have a vote on the motion to consider the changes individually. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's on the screen, as before. Same voting procedure. Yes to consider, no, you don't want to, 3 to abstain.
We're going to do a raffle. It's for Bedray Chocolate Basket. Last 4 digits, 2205. Oh, my word. Mans, that's my ticket. I was like, that number looked familiar. Just so you know, declining. 062267. It is for a Bedray Chocolate Basket. The number is 062267. Last 4 digits, 2401. Rolling along faster, 2039. Last 4 digits, 2039. 062400. Last 4 digits, 2400. Bingo.
Yeah.
We have a winner? Okay, put that one on. Okay, if you could see the ladies in the back, Carrie Sisson and Chance, they're waving their arms. Thank you so much.
Okay, I assume everybody has voted is going to. We're stuck on 140. That hasn't changed for a couple of minutes, so we're going to stop voting now.
Okay, the motion passes. We will now go through the 6 changes individually for their consideration. Some of them we're going to have to bundle because of the way they go together. Now, Dana, you're more than welcome. But the first change is to Section 3, Paragraph A, where it actually reads, Quapaw Nation Business Committee members shall have terms of office of 4 years or until successors are elected, qualified, and installed. Election shall be staggered as follows. Is there a motion? Wonderful, Dana. Is that motion to accept the language as presented? Is there a second? Excellent. We have a second. Now we're in discussion. Who might like to discuss this particular motion? Yes, sir.
Sorry. So long as the question is in the hands of a committee, the assembly cannot consider another motion involving practically the same question. All right, so what we're asking General Counsel to consider here is something that is on the Constitution Committee's plate already, and it's out of order.
Could we get a parliamentarian
were you
ruling
at
on this?
the meeting when, or the past few meetings, when the date was set for July, this coming July? It's always been the date. We could go back, look at minutes after minutes after minutes. July has always been the date. I understand your frustration. I understand a lot of people's frustration. This July has always been the date when that's coming forward.
I'm sorry, Roman, could you please repeat that? My apologies. I'm not quite sure I was following the storyline.
Terms and term limits are on the Constitution Committee's plate currently. Whenever so long as the question is in the hands of a committee, the assembly cannot consider another motion involving practically the same question.
Said a little bit differently, are you expressing the sentiment that according to Robert's Rules of Order, no body, when I say body, I mean a separate body, is allowed to take up any matter on the governing resolution other than the Constitution Committee, or is it isolated to terms and term limits?
In this regard, it's the proposal of a 4-year term. And the reason, the justification for this is problematic for the Constitution, or the presentation of a Constitution. Some folks can potentially disagree or agree with this, and it affects and influences the Constitution that General Counsel has asked for. If this vote goes forward today, it can be denied or approved, and that dictates what new information of what the Constitution Committee has to go back and do. That's just in the general sense of why it shouldn't be allowed, because it changes what's already on Constitution Committee's plate. And that was announced at the General Counsel meeting in the calls for the order of the day, where at the bottom, the General Counsel meeting, or the meeting after, this is from September 7th and 8th, item number 11, Constitution Committee open meeting. There's a few items that we discussed here, but one of them is terms of elected officials. So that was announced already as a part of our current business, and it's out of order to discuss it here today.
Could we get a parliamentarian ruling on that? So I'll give the Cliff Note version of it. The Constitution Committee, or at least Roman, is asserting that because in the special general council meeting held on September 7th and 8th, after we adjourned, there was an open meeting conducted and held by the Constitution Committee. In that meeting, terms and term limits were discussed, and the assertion is, as a result, it is off limits to any body other than the Constitution Committee. Struggling.
Okay, let me try and explain this as simply as possible. A little bit of a complicated matter. So basically, because the Constitution Committee was previously given this topic to consider and work on while they're creating a new constitution. Basically, if we want to consider this in this form, we'll need to discharge the committee from further consideration of just this topic so that we can take the matter out of their hands and decide that we're going to do it now. So basically, if we want to do that, there'll need to be a motion on the floor to discharge the committee from considering this topic or working on this topic so that we can consider it at this time. Does that make sense?
I think.
Can we
get a microphone, please? Oh, Kim's on her way.
My name is Karen Cummings. My understanding is that this is a task that they're currently working on. They're trying to finalize this to where we can all vote on it in July. It's not completed yet. He's trying to say that they are working on this and they're trying to make it right. I vote to table this until July.
So are you making the motion to table this topic until the Constitution Committee presents it in July?
Yes.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, so laying it on the table is not debatable. We go to the vote.
Can I get your name again?
Karen Cummings.
So the motion and second, so we've got a motion on the floor that we got to go to the vote, is to place this topic on the table until July. Special General Counsel 3. The entirety of Special General Counsel 3 was to contemplate business committee terms, so that is the topic that's being tabled until July, or at least proposed.
Okay, the motion has been made, but if we would vote on that first one, it makes all the others irrelevant. So basically, this motion will kill Special General Counsel number 3. Same question as the last two. One, you want to table this question? Yes. You want to table it? 2, no, 3 abstain, just like the previous 2 votes. Okay, voting will now cease, and we'll display the results.
The motion to table passes. I'll accept a motion to adjourn Special General Counsel number 3. We've got a motion to, is there a second? All right, all those in favor of adjourning Special General Counsel number 3, please say aye. All those opposed? Well, Special GC number 3 is now adjourned. Let's roll right into Special General Counsel number 4. Okay, we're going to call to order Special General Counsel meeting number 4. That's to finalize language in the Tribal Employment's Right Act. First thing first, is there a motion to take Terra Code from the table and open the topic for discussion? If you recall, it was tabled 4th of July, 2023. And we need a motion to bring it back from the table to the floor so that we can bring it up. Is there a motion to remove it from the table? Rick Mercer made a motion to remove it from the table. Is there a second? We've got a second. Thank you. What we're trying to figure out is whether that motion to remove from the table is debatable or not before we proceed to the vote. Okay, that motion is not debatable. We will now proceed to the vote to bring the Terra Code back from the table. Election Committee?
Ready? Okay, we're going to display up on the board the vote to return Terra back to the table, or from the table into actively pursuing it. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain.
Okay, folks, get ready. We're going to do one more raffle. It is another Bedray chocolate basket. Last 4 digits, 2300. 2195. Last 4 digits, 2195. 2237. 2237. All right.
Okay, we got some people still out there with clickers in their hands. Let's just punch the numbers in and vote, please. It appears everybody that wants to vote has voted. Let's stop the voting.
So the motion to return Terra from the table fails. What that means is we're not able to pick this topic back up today. That concludes Special General Counsel number 4. Vice Chairman McKibben, would you please lead us in the, hold on.
We do need to explain that because this item has been tabled several times, and since it did not get pulled off the table this time, Terra Code, the Terra Act it completely fails, it's dead. We won't be able to bring it off the table again. Unless there's a brand new motion at General Counsel.
Vice Chair McKibben, would you please close us out in prayer?
Folks, if you get a chance to see Brother Bladen, thank him for coming out here and fanning us off this morning. And he got that fire going for us bright and early and took time out of his day to come and bless us with that. So if you pass Bladen, stand on your way out, give him a hug or shake his hand and tell him we appreciate him starting that grandpa for us this morning and blessing us. So, Creator, Father God, Savior Jesus, thank you for this day. We got some folks that are sick and some mourners right now, some folks that lost their loved ones. I ask you, please watch over them and send them some of that spirit that makes them feel good, makes them feel better, and gives them some pleasant thoughts and some good thoughts about their loved ones. And these ones that are struggling with their health right now, Creator, Father God, I ask you, please help them along and give them a little bit better day today and better days to come for them with their health. Creator, Father God, Savior Jesus, thank you again for this day, and thank you for all these folks coming out here to help us conduct this tribal business, help us to come together and make good decisions and try to move our nation in a positive direction and help our folks when they go back home to find their home places in good order. Please, Father God, and give everybody safe travels back to their home place. Thank you again for this day, and watch over all our folks. Hanukkah, amen.
Adjourn.